Hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be doing a comparison of two contemporary dance pieces, and this is the first part of a three-part series where today I will be specifically talking about the contemporary ballet piece Infra. Later I will be comparing the other dance, Shadows, to Infra, but today we will just be talking about Infra and what I've learnt from it after researching it for a while, and I hope that it will help those who are studying this piece, and I hope you enjoy the video, so let's start. In Infra, it's all about the story of those who dwell underneath the normal people who lead their daily lives commuting, or people who might be living in basements or perhaps homeless, are dancing underneath them or telling their stories. You often hear sounds of trains running over your head like when you're in a tunnel, so that might be evidence of them being homeless and them staying underneath a tunnel, and that's why they're hearing it. And this is a quite emotional story. There are a lot of emotional dances and I will continue to talk about them, and we will start off now with the duets. In the duets, there seems to be a lot of relationships between two people, and they seem to be all slightly different relationships. The first feature a lot of dragging of the legs from the woman while the man is supporting, and they move together. This might be suggesting that the man is a strong feature which is supporting the woman because she might be struggling to move by herself. And the next one, which is another duet, seems to be featuring a lot of each other's arms weaving in and out while still keeping connected. Then there is an interesting scene, particularly where the lighting is quite grabbing, where there's 6 white rectangles on the floor and they slowly fill up with different partners as they arrive from the shadows from the back of the stage into the bright rectangular square lights. They start in unison, but then it becomes quite more complicated in different combinations like XY, or XYZ, or sometimes there seems to be no pattern at all and it's quite hectic. And it's still interesting because it's orderly chaos. They are confined in their boxes with only light separating them, yet their movement tells a different story and you feel a sense of chaos despite the order from the boxes. There seems to be a lot of seagulls outside right now, so they all seem to be excited by the hot weather. Then it goes into a calmer scene where a man comes out and it almost feels like passionate speech as he is grounded thanks to the drums in the background, and he seems to be in this gold yellow light, which is quite grand, and he gives off this very grand strong vibe, since he's also only wearing trousers, and it really shows his masculinity without him having his top. And I think that was something that the choreographer did on purpose. That was something he aimed to do, since normally everyone is wearing a shirt and just shorts, and he's the only person in the whole dance who seems to be not covering his top and wearing long trousers. It also channels a happier feeling, since this is the first time we get to see a yellow light, because we've only got white and white only for the past 12 minutes or so. Then it channels into a happier duet, and it's much sweeter and gentle because the yellow light is still funneling through even though it is a light shade, and this seems to be like a turn for the better until it suddenly starts to speed up. There is a sense of something building up, and as the dancing goes on you can hear that there are people coming in, and the yellow light is still there, while there is also a loud violin in the background, and there is also the sound which is like a very distorted sound of like a person or people talking, and that feels like it's almost like a crowded place where there are people talking and there are lots of people around them, and it suddenly feels like there's a whole load of more people, and then it's all crowded and you're feeling like you're being overcome by all of this sound and all the new people on the stage dancing their own thing. And even though you might feel like it's suddenly going to tip over the edge, it suddenly just rushes out into blue. And This is obviously the start of a sad sequence where a woman in a white top seems to get whispered some bad news in their ear from the woman in black that comes next to her. Man then enters on the side and steadies himself like he's been injured, and he seems to be acting really desperate, and soon after that he lies down and goes to sleep. The duet that happened between the woman in white and blue, which didn't seem like the woman in blue was comforting her. It started off like that, but they didn't seem to be so much of the woman crying until when the woman in blue goes to sleep. Then she starts to weep and breaks down into tears. And when this happens, people start to walk on stage and the crowd sweeps past her and she falls to the ground. The white light lights up like a pathway that the people who are walking past her follow, and she is almost stuck in the crowd, and she is there on the ground crying. However, there is sadly a strange sense of calm since the music is actually much warmer than it normally is, and she is then at the very end swept away by the tails of the crowd, and the final duet comes in. There seem to be a couple, and the man seems to be very protective of the woman, almost as if she's in some sort of danger, and we can see that they're very well connected through this piece, and they have a solitary spotlight following them around throughout the piece. It's like a gentle yet passionate dance that sets an odd mood, because they kept going till the very end. Even when the curtains come down until they touch the floor, you can still see that they're dancing without any signs of slowing down. Overall, I believe that the key points of this dance was to convey the idea of relationships between those who live under the surface, where normal people don't normally go. You can see the interactions in the duet seem to be between two very connected people, probably couples or people in a relationship, and they are quite literally underneath walking people through the darkness, because there are obviously the LED screens which show people walking across about 13 meters, I believe, of just screen, and they are often normally, and they are always walking at the same speed, doesn't change, and it always seems to be the same. And that leads on to my next point, which is the theme of uniformity. Even though there are some chaotic moments, like I talked about the point where there seems to be a crowd of people talking, examples of this uniformity are, yes, also how the LED screens never change and the people always seem to walk across the screen, but also things like how the light separated them into boxes, or how they had very simple clothing, except from the one man. Which also then leads to my point of chaos, how he seems to be the only different person, and there are scenes where the dancers are all on stage doing their own movements and telling their own story, and the music is up-tempo, and even the people on the screen seem to change as the numbers drastically increase. And even though this isn't a direct change in speed or anything like that, the idea of what we've been seeing all this time of just normal, simple person walks off the screen, goes off, and then there's only about a max to about 5 people on the screen at the same time. Suddenly there's like 11 figures all walking together, and they obviously don't change, but the amount of people itself just is a drastic change, and it feels more intense and different. I believe that the music did have a lot to do with this piece. There was a lot of different scenes where they made you feel different, even though you might have felt a certain other way, such as when the woman was crying, you would have probably felt sad and you would have expected a sad violin perhaps. There was still calm music, and that made you feel much more different than you would expect yourself to feel in a situation where a woman is crying in the middle of a street. The lighting was also interesting and creative, and the costume was also a good point to look at, the difference between the one man and everyone else, and also the set, which didn't have much, the screens above them, which was quite an interesting point that helped convey more different ideas. But I believe they did not put much set on there on purpose, and that was so you could focus on the dancers and the dancers' body only. So I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope you found it helpful, and I hope that you can find it good if you're writing something about Infra. and I will hope that you'll stick with this series so you can learn more about my next dance that I'm analysing, which is shadows. And if you're interested in the very comparison at the very end, which will be in between shadows and Infra, surprise, surprise. And I hope that you enjoyed the video, and please press the like button if you liked it and you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content. Click the notification bell if you'd also like to be alerted about when the shadows analysis video comes out, and also the comparison video if you'd like to see that. But until then, I'll see you next time. Bye!